Greetings, friends. The Lord's been waking me up at 4:30 almost every day in the morning. And I find myself praying and spending time with the Lord for either 30 minutes or to 45 minutes to an hour, and then I fall back asleep. But this has been going on for almost 2 months. And it's not that I'm tired when I wake up. I usually sleep till 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, but it's a time that I spend with the Lord. And He's been downloading a lot of stuff to me. And recently, one of the downloads had to do with isolation. And the isolation that's impacting not only the United States, but the whole world. And I want you to hear this. God did not create us to be isolated. He created us to be in community. Husbands and wives, family, children, community, churches. That's the way God created us, not to live lives in isolation. Now, if you think about isolation, what do they do with prisoners? They put them in an isolated situation to break their spirit because they know it will crush their morale to be alone. In fact, sometimes they put people in isolation, for punishment. But they take them away from other people because they know that if they're isolated, they're going to become depressed. They're going to become anxious. And isolation doesn't give you the benefit of talking to other people. Isolation is never good. Solitary confinement is not good. Now, if you look at our culture worldwide, people are being forced into isolation all the time. They're being forced to wear things on their face that don't enable them to speak to each other, to recognize each other. People are being isolated in their settings so they can't be with other people. They're told to stay in their homes and don't be with others. And that's not healthy. And prolonged isolation will be destructive. Look at the nation. Prolonged isolation is causing people to not only to have high levels of anxiety and stress and depression, but many times it's becoming lethal. People are making choices that aren't healthy about their life. Just pick up the newspaper and read it. Isolation destroys. It's never good. God doesn't want us to be in isolation. I think about the churches that have been closed and people not able to go to church, not to be in community, not to be able to talk with other people. You see, we need each other. We need each other to communicate to lift ourselves up, to nurture each other, to support each other. I recently did a talk called, Divided We Fall. Well, when you isolate yourself, you're not even giving yourself a position to be divided. You're already separated out. You're already in an isolated confinement of sorts, and it's not healthy. I want you to think about this. I want you to pray about it. The longer you're isolated and separated from people, the more depressed, the more anxious, the more down you become. We need each other. We need everything opened up so we can communicate and be together, because the net of all this is fear. An isolated person not being able to be nurtured or concerned for or cared for is going to become fearful. And then your mind begins to spin around and you become more and more and more afraid. I'm talking about isolated people living in fear, and their bodies, their minds are being depleted. And we need to be replenished. We need each other. I want you to think about this. God does not want us isolated from each other. He wants us in community. The triune God is in community. He wants us to be together. He wants us to be together as families. He wants us to be together professionally. He wants us to be together educationally. He wants us to be together. He doesn't want us to live in isolation and fear, and it's gone too long. I'm going to tell you right now, it's gone on for too long. It's time to change it. And the only way we can change it is for you and I to break out of the isolation that is mandated, not legislated, but mandated, and move into community where we can be there for each other, lifting each other up, encouraging each other. Look, God is in control. I believe that with all my heart. I trust God with my life, my family's life, my health, my finances, everything I trust God for. That's called faith in God, who I believe will not let us down. And as I've said so many times, whether I live or die, I'm going to go to heaven, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to serve the Lord here or I'll serve him in heaven. But friends, I want to come back to this. Isolation, solitary confinement is not healthy for your mind. It's not healthy for your heart, emotionally. You need people. And you need to be able to communicate with people. And you need to live without fear, but in love. Without anxiety, but with peace. Without despair, but with hope. Without prolonged sadness. I mean, for crying out loud, we've had almost 18, 19, 20 months of prolonged sadness. It's time to have the joy of the Lord. Put that mantle of joy on yourself right now. And let me come back to faith. God doesn't want you to doubt him or yourself. He wants you to have faith, trust in him. If you can trust God for your redemption, if you can trust him for your forgiveness, if you can trust him for everlasting life, then start trusting him right now with your natural life, because he loves you. Break out of your isolation. It's time. It's time. Look, if you want to reach out to me, go right now to my Facebook, hit the comment button. If you want to go to my Facebook, to my email page, paultetzkeministries.com, send me a prayer request or a comment there. I want you to reach out to me. I want to dialogue with you. Are you sick and tired of being isolated? Are you sick and tired of living in fear? Let the perfect love of God cast out your fear. Amen? Amen. Look, I hope this has been helpful. I want to encourage you to do the right thing for yourself or for the people around you who need you as much as you probably need them. Amen? Amen. Go in peace and serve the Lord. And all God's people said, amen.